Okay, so last time we were talking about check constraints, and I'm sure that you guys had some look into the database definitions for your databases for the homework too, and that had a bunch of check constraints, and that should give you some idea about how check constraints are implemented in your databases. So essentially, checks are there so that you are allowing your database to have some legitimate values within some bounds. So essentially, we could say that, for example, given a pay rate is a numeric value. A pay rate can only be greater than 5.25, or our check constants can also say that our status can be one of three enumerated types. Or we also talked about this particular case where our check constraint basically had this particular statement that was check account number in, and then it actually had a select statement inside. So essentially what this select statement would do on its own is get all the account numbers from the table account. And basically what this says is our account number in this table here will only be valid if it is from one of those accounts in this account table, right? So um, we could also have basically subqueries in our check constraints as well, like we have here. Usually what we call this sort of a statement is what we call as referencing one table from another table, or another name for these things were foreign keys, right? So where one table actually uses another table's attributes to as a sort of like a primary key. So, so we cannot insert any arbitrary values for a particular attribute. We are just saying that you can only insert values for this attribute if that value exists in that particular other table, right? So that also formalizes our referential integrity constraint. But in general, when we have the case where we want to have something like this, so for example, say that we have an employee database and employee records. Let's say that we have two separate tables. One table just states your employee name, your employee ID, and your salary. Let's say, and the other table includes all of the personal information for a particular employee. That would be basically employee name, I don't know, spouse name, address, phone numbers, and things like that. So you would want your employee records table to be referenced by the employee ID table, right? So we don't want an employee that does not um, uh, that is not present in the other table, right? So those sort of tables are usually connected using foreign key constraints. And if you look at the university table schema that we had in our homework, you can see that there are multiple foreign keys connecting one table to the other. So those are what we call as foreign keys. And in order to maintain those sort of constraints, we call those as referential integrity. Okay, any questions about this one? Okay. So uh, whenever we get into these sort of referential integrity constraints, one thing that we need to be aware of is what happens when we make some changes. So for example, in this particular scenario, the depositor table in this particular scenario has a check constraint on the account number, that is, has to be a valid account number from the table account, right? So we can say that depositor references account. So there are certain things that we need to be wary of when we are designing such constraints. The first thing is, well, firstly, whenever we want to design such constraints, we should never use check constraints, because check constraints are, and I'm digressing a bit here, but essentially check constraints are a bit way too expensive whenever we are performing those, whenever we want to perform such differential constraints. Instead of using check constraints, we should actually use foreign key constraints, and those are much more faster. And we'll talk about foreign keys in a second. The second thing is, well, essentially, check constants are so expensive that MySQL actually did not have support for check constants a few years back. So if you had like a table that you designed, let's say in Postgres or Microsoft SQL, that had check constants and they allowed check constants for a long time. And if you wanted to port that particular table to MySQL, MySQL used to just ignore this entire check constraint expression and just had this table like with attribute names and primary keys, and that's that. MySQL would have ignored the entire check constraints. Nowadays, MySQL allows check constraints, but essentially that is something that we need to remember whenever we are talking about multiple databases. So back to what we were talking about. Um, so in this particular scenario, depositor is referencing account number from the table account. Does this make sense? So firstly, before we move on, type in yes or no if this particular thing makes sense to you. Like depositor, it has to have an account number that exists in the table account, right? Any confusions about this? No. Okay. But exactly. Okay, very good. So that also means that if we want to make some changes in depositor, we need to check our constraints as well. So for example, if in our depositor, we want to, let's say that a particular person has this account number and we want to change that account number. Now, if we change that account number, so let's say that the current account number is, so let's say that the current account number is 8256, some number, right? And that is all legit and that exists in the account table. And we want to change this particular account number to something else. So let's say that A121. And this particular account number does not exist in the account table. We would give an error, right? Because the corresponding account number does not exist in the account table. The other way also applies. So for example, let's say that we have this depositor account and that has this account number 256. And in the account table, so let's say that this was the depositor table. And in the account table, let's say that we also had obviously this particular account number and other details. And let's say that we want to delete this particular statement or delete this particular tuple. So if we delete this particular tuple, that means that depositor would now be pointing to something that does not exist. So there are cases where we need to maintain these things. So in order to delete this particular tuple or this particular user from this entire bank database, what we would need to do is essentially delete the depositor tuple first. Followed by that, we would need to delete the account tuple. Otherwise, depositor would be pointing to something that does not exist. And we can't allow that. So either way, whenever we are using referential integrity constraints on our tables or multiple tables, we would need to make sure for both of those cases, basically when changes are made to the depositor table or the referencing relation, and whenever changes are being made to the referenced relation as well. Okay. So as I said, don't use check constraints for referential integrity. There is a better way, that's foreign keys. We are going to talk about that in right now. But essentially, remember that, as I said, MySQL did not support check constraints for a long time. And that also means that it limits your portability, right? So always remember to check whether if you're using constraints like that or check constraints, whether that particular database system actually allows those things as well. And it doesn't only apply to check constraints, also applies to other things as well. Okay. So in general, our referential integrity constraint is essentially saying that the set of attributes that I'm stating in this table also references this other table, right? That is the basic case. And we can say that, let's say that K is the set of values that we want to reference them, and R is the set of values in the, R is the schema for R equal. So R is our relation with the schema capital R. And we are saying that the subset of attributes that we have K is a subset of R. And essentially we are saying that K is also a subset of our schema S, where we have the relation S with a schema capital S. And all we are saying in terms of our relational algebra equations is that for all tuples T of S, that is in our relation. So for example, the depositor relation that belongs to S, for each tuple in T of R that is in our R relation or our account relation or whatever, essentially we are saying that TS of K should equal to TR of K. So there should be a corresponding K value in the R of K table corresponding to the S of K table, right? So that is what we are essentially saying. We can also say it as this: so project K from S is a subset of project K of R, right? Okay. Foreign keys. So essentially, like primary keys, foreign keys are also constraints that we can impose, but they are basically inter-table constraints. So for example, if we had this particular statement that is create table depositor, customer name, varchar 30, references customer. So customer is a table. So this customer is a table, and we are saying that customer name references this particular table, that is customer. Account number, blah, 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 references account. So account is a table and account number references this particular table. So when we are specifying only the table name, when we are saying references, so we are doing two things. Firstly, when we say this attribute references this thing, we are saying that this attribute is acting like a foreign key for this table. And the second thing is when we just specify the table name, we are specifying the primary keys of that table, right? So when we say references customer, we are saying that customer name references the primary keys of customer, account number references the primary keys of account. One thing to remember in terms of differences between foreign keys, unique values, or primary keys is that primary keys are the only cases which do not allow null values. Foreign keys and unique values allow null values, right? So a foreign key constraint on its own does not imply not null. So if there is a null value as a as a particular attribute in another table, that also means that that particular null value would be considered as a foreign key constraint in another table. And that leads to all sorts of messes that is possible, but essentially keep that in mind as well. Okay. So for example, let's say that we have this case where we want to model the employee IDs and their health benefit information. So usually companies have two separate tables. One would basically have their company IDs and their social security numbers, where their company IDs are usually used for their salary stuff, and the social security numbers are usually tied to their health benefit information, right? So health benefit is usually tied to social security and what you pay there and things like that. So you would have a separate table for those things, and you would have for salary and taxes and all of those things, you would have your company assigned IDs and socials as a separate. So in this particular scenario, you can see that the social security number exists in both of those sort of tables, and we would like to connect them in that scenario, right? Like we don't want a person having health benefits not to be a company employee, right? We should not allow something like that. So essentially we can have a table like that. We can see that we have this here, that is employee ID is integer type, is a primary key. And remember that if we have this sort of an expression where we are writing primary key next to an attribute, we can only allow single attribute names for that. If we want multi-column attributes to be primary keys, we need to write it as after the entire table, create table expression, that is primary key and the bunch of attribute names. Coming back, employee SSN not null unique, and employee name varchar not null. And in the health plan, basically we are saying employee SSN is a primary key again, references employee table, that is this particular table and this particular attribute from that employee table.